It's my privilege to welcome our next guest, Shri Subodh Tiwari ji, who was born in the yogic atmosphere at Kaivalya Dhama, Lonavala. At a young age, he received spiritual initiations from Swami Digambar ji, the director and spiritual head of Kaivalya Dham Yoga Institute, and began yoga practices under the guidance of his father. He pursued higher education in Bombay in law and a diploma in human resource management, and is presently pursuing the master's degree in human resource management. In 1992, he completed his certificate course in yoga. He joined as the administrator of the Sadatgupt Yogic Hospital and Healthcare Center, and also shouldered the responsibility of administration of the institute implementing improved system. He initiated and coordinated programs to train school teachers in yoga of Navodaya School Kendra Vidyalayas and for schools in the state of Maharashtra. He was the coordinator on behalf of the institute for the scheme of promotions of yoga in schools by the Minister of Human Resource Development. He was also the coordinator of the schemes of school health under the Department of Ayush, Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. He has been organizer and convener of various international conferences organized by Kaivalya Dhama, Lonavala. He has spoken at various national and international conferences. He visited the countries like USA, Canada, Macau, Mauritius, Germany, France, and Italy to conduct yoga workshops. He is also the secretary of the Lonavala Citizen Forum. His goal is to qualitatively enhance the life of an individual through the practice of yoga and enhance the quality of environment through human efforts. So, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Shri Subodh Tiwari ji.
Namaskar and my pranams to all of you. I'm so happy to be part of this session, and I thank the organizers for enabling me to share my thoughts with you. I come from Kaivalya Dham, an institution established in 1924 by Revered Swami Kaivalyananda ji. And when we speak of Kaivalya Dham, we say where yoga, tradition and science meet. Swamiji, being a Sanskrit scholar, dwelt deep into the darshana, the philosophical realms of yoga, to find out hypotheses for the scientific research. And therefore, my topic today, which I will conclude in exactly 11 minutes left now, is Samadhi. As all of us know, there has been various discussions, and the various principles of yoga have been beautifully divided for discussion in these sessions. Patanjali, in his Ashtanga Yoga, puts up Samadhi as the eighth limb in the Antaranga Yoga. This is the highest experience which we can have. And I, coming from Kaivalya Dham, you would be rightly expecting, and probably us, going a little deeper into the understanding of the philosophical aspect rather than the generic understanding of Samadhi in yoga. In chapter 1, Sutra 20, Patanjali essentially lays down first four important parameters for any individual, which are required to go into this whole dimension of Antaranga Sadhana, or towards Dharana, Dhyan and Samadhi. That is where the whole story begins. And those four qualities which he mentions is Shraddha, Virya, Smriti and Prajna. Trust and faith for an individual to start that journey towards the internal consciousness. Virya, the strength and the virya, the ability to sustain the practices. That is essential. It is from the brave-hearted. Smriti, keen and attentive memory. That is an essential part of the sadhak to go on that path. And he mentions in the sutra Samadhi Prajna, but it has to be a compounded word for understanding, and it is wisdom preparedness, or how well we would be able to absorb the experiences which we are arriving. So these are the first four qualities which a sadhak has been initiated, is been following towards the sadhana of dharana, dhyana, and samadhi. So as individuals, we should understand. And then we go on to the variety of samadhis Maharishi Patanjali mentions before he concludes in the third chapter, third sutra, about what actually happens in samadhi. But the discussion is very important, since it also may raise some more keen academic discussions. But very often, some aspect of samapati, what has been described in sutras 141 to 145, he speaks of samapati, and many authors have contributed to this different dimensions or different aspect of samapati as samadhi. But I also concur with some of the authors, or like Dr. P.B. Karambelkar and others, where they say that samapatis are not actually the different levels of samadhi which we understand. They are, in fact, the four spheres which would lead one to the first samadhi which Patanjali speaks of. So there is this whole concept of samapati. First is, they say, savitarka. Savitarka is the ability to go into the realms of consciousness, awareness, sadhana. But there is a element of vitarka. There is element of some impression, some sanskara which are already there, and they come up. So you are in a state of samapati, but it is that dimension where it is savitarka. Vitarka is arising out of the storehouse of sanskaras at this moment when you are in there. They are actually arising out of the confusion of the shabda, artha, jnana, these aspects of our operations. Basically, it's the element of the thought which is coming in. And then the third and the fourth dimensions are savichara and nivichara. These are totally four dimensions of samapati which are confused as the variety of samadhi. And the only difference between the savitarka and nirvitarka and savichara and nirvichara is the subtleness of that aspect of concentration. The aspect of concentration in the vitarka or nirvitarka is more gross, and the authors of the translators of the bhashyakars conclude that in vichara stage it is more subtle. So that is what four samapatis are, and it is important for the sadhak to understand that these four samapatis culminate into what Maharishi Patanjali says is the I said there are four requirements in the dimensions for one to lead towards the antaranga yoga or towards the stage of dharana, dhyana, and samadhi. Those are shraddha, virya, smriti, and prajna. That is trust, the valor, the strength, the attentive memory to practice, and the wisdom preparedness for someone to have experiential paradigm. And samapati are those four dimensions which lead you to the first samadhi which Patanjali describes, but these samapatis are more often confused as samadhi itself by many of the authors. This is my view, and this is view of some of the bhashyakars. And we discussed the savitarka and nirvitarka. And savitarka is with the kind of a thought process, the samskara which is imprinted in your mind. Together with that, the practices are going on, and so they are arising out of the storehouse of the sanskaras. You get that, and then you reach a stage where you are able to sublime the effects of those sanskaras, and that is where the nirvitarka samapati occurs. And so it is as if that no vitarkas are coming out in the consciousness sphere. Like they say, it is swarupa shunyata. It is the zeroness of the subject chosen for concentration or meditation. So that is where we have the savitarka, nirvitarka samapatti, and then you go savichar and nirvichar. See, there's a difference in the terminology, but it is clear that you grow from gross to subtle when you go into the nirvichar and savichara realms of consciousness. So to give you an example, it is like, because we have to understand very simply, the most complex of mechanisms needs to be understood very simply. You take an onion and the outer layer is very hard. You take and you find a softer skin inside which is consumable, which is nice. But then you again keep it for some time, it gets harder. You keep peeling the onions. There are different levels of consciousness. That is what you understand until you reach. So these four samapatti will lead you towards what is referred to as Ta evam sahabij samadhi in Patanjali Yoga Sutra. The sahabij samadhi is the blissfulness which comes out of the subject which you have taken for concentration or for dhyana. So there is this culmination into sahabij samadhi, and the consciousness level has grown. You have gone more in depth, and there comes a time where there is nirbija samadhi. This is the second layer which Maharishi Patanjali talks of. So what was the bij, what the element which he is talking about, the four samapattis led you to this element of samadhi, what was sabij, and then the sabij samadhi sanskaras are basically they get absorbed or they are not there, and realization of reality is what comes forward. You have gone one step deeper into this nirbija samadhi, where your sanskaras are at a very, very minute level. They are almost non-existent. And that is what nirbija samadhi is spoken about. Sarva samskara nirodha is achieved in the sense that cessation, because in Sahabij there was even that experience generated a sanskara. Here nothing is existent. This is the second layer of, or second type of samadhi which Maharishi Patanjali speaks. And third is the dharma megha samadhi which is spoken of, and which is, I would simply say, is the final stage of concentration, where the practitioner becomes disinterested in omniscience and omnipresence. Basically, there is absolute nothingness. There is supra consciousness, and that is what Dharma Megha Samadhi is about. So, in the first chapter, one sees a great description of these types of samadhi. So, one understands the intricate path of how your experiences could be. And finally, when Patanjali Maharishi speaks of the Antaranga Yoga or the Sanyama, wherein the essence alone remains without the differentiation. That is the stage of complete absorption. So, finally, friends, I will just say there is this humongous, great, profound philosophy and experiential philosophy which Maharishi Patanjali has left us. And I would say to this about what happens with the is where we all would like to aim at, because ultimately that is what distinguishes human beings. Dharme nahi ne adhike vishesho. And I wish all of us a very, very happy and a very, very successful and very, very experiential International Day of Yoga. I again thank the organizers for their tolerance end the grace back. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Tiwari ji. And as you said, the Kevala Dham stands for yoga, tradition, and science. I was just thinking that indeed, yoga is the experience of truth, science is the experiments of truth, and tradition is the expression of truth. So, indeed, in all possible forms, Kevala Dham has been serving this nation and this great tradition. We are honored to have you and for such an inspiring and deep talk, sir. Thank you very much. Regards.
On behalf of United Consciousness, I thank Shri Subodh Tiwari ji to come on to the platform of United Consciousness and share his views. Thank you so much.